Young people need to hear this because the world is speaking loudly and not always truthfully. Voices everywhere are telling you who to be, what to chase, and how fast you should arrive. But noise is not guidance, and popularity is not purpose. If you are not careful, you can spend your strength building a life that looks successful yet feels empty. You are not created to copy someone else's path. Comparison is one of the greatest thieves of clarity. When you measure your life against others, you lose sight of your own calling. Growth is not a race. Timing is not a competition. Your season cannot be rushed without cost. Discipline matters more than motivation. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline carries you forward when feelings disappear. The habits you build now will either become your strength or your struggle later. What you do consistently will shape who you become permanently. Small choices repeated daily create powerful outcomes. Character is more important than talent. Talent can open doors, but character determines how long they stay open. Integrity protects your future when no one is watching. The world may reward shortcuts, but shortcuts always demand payment later. What you build slowly with honesty will last longer than what you gain quickly through compromise. Do not underestimate the power of patience. Waiting is not wasted time when it is purposeful. Some of the most important growth happens in hidden seasons. Preparation often looks like delay. Silence often means shaping. What feels slow now may be saving you from being unprepared later. Responsibility is freedom, not restriction. Taking ownership of your choices gives you control over your future. Blaming circumstances delays growth. Accountability accelerates it. You gain power the moment you stop waiting for permission to improve. Your value is not defined by attention, approval, or achievement. Worth is not earned, it is inherent. Chasing validation will exhaust you. Living with purpose will sustain you. Know who you are before the world tells you who to become. Faith is not weakness, it is foundation. Trust anchors you when uncertainty rises. Belief provides direction when clarity is limited. Faith does not remove challenges. It gives strength to face them without losing identity. Time is your most valuable resource. Spend it intentionally. Invest in learning, growth, and relationships that sharpen you. Avoid distractions that steal focus without giving purpose. Every season is shaping something. Make sure it shapes the right thing. You do not need to have everything figured out, but you do need to be honest, disciplined, and willing to grow. Direction matters more than speed. Consistency matters more than intensity. Young people need to hear this because the future is not built by impulse. It is built by intention. What you commit to today will define who you become tomorrow. Choose wisely, choose purpose, choose growth. What young people need to hear first is that their lives are being shaped right now, not someday in the future. Every choice, habit, and belief they are forming today is quietly constructing the direction of their tomorrow. Waiting to figure things out later feels safe, but delay has a cost. Time is not neutral. It either works for you or against you. What you consistently choose now becomes what you live with later. Many young people underestimate the power of small decisions. They think only big moments matter, but life is built in ordinary days. The way you spend your time, what you give your attention to, who you listen to, and what you tolerate all leave an imprint. You do not drift into a meaningful life, you choose it daily. Neglect, distraction, and avoidance are choices too, even when they don't feel like decisions. There is a dangerous lie that says you have plenty of time to be serious later. This mindset postpones responsibility and delays growth. Purpose does not suddenly appear when you feel ready. Clarity often comes after commitment, not before it. Discipline practiced early creates freedom later. The sooner young people understand this, the more control they gain over their future. Ownership is empowering, even though it feels uncomfortable at first. Blaming circumstances, parents, society, or past mistakes may explain pain, but it does not produce progress. Responsibility is not about guilt, it is about power. The moment you accept responsibility for your choices, you reclaim control over direction. You may not control where you started, but you control how you move forward. Many young people feel pressure to compare themselves to others. Social media magnifies this pressure by creating unrealistic timelines and false standards of success. Comparison distorts self-worth and steals focus. Everyone moves at a different pace with different starting points and different assignments. Measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel leads to frustration and insecurity. Your responsibility is not to match someone else's path, but to be faithful to your own. Identity is another area where responsibility matters. The world constantly offers labels and definitions, but accepting them without reflection can limit growth. You are not required to become what others expect. Identity should be discovered through values, character, and purpose, not through popularity or approval. Owning your identity requires courage because it means making choices that may not be celebrated by everyone. Young people also need to hear that motivation is unreliable. Feelings change daily. Waiting to feel inspired before acting leads to inconsistency. Discipline carries you when motivation fades. Doing what needs to be done, even when it is uncomfortable, builds confidence and self-respect. Confidence does not come from thinking differently. It comes from acting consistently. Failure is inevitable, but it does not define you unless you stop learning. Mistakes are part of growth, not evidence of inadequacy. What matters is response. Responsibility turns failure into feedback. Avoidance turns failure into identity. Growth requires the humility to acknowledge errors and the courage to adjust direction. Another important truth is that no one is coming to rescue you from the consequences of your choices. This may sound harsh, but it is freeing. When you stop waiting for rescue, you start building resilience. Independence is not isolation, it is ownership. Asking for guidance is wise, but surrendering responsibility is not. Time management is a form of self-respect. How you use your time reveals what you value. Hours lost to distraction are opportunities surrendered. Focus is not about doing everything. It is about choosing what matters most. Young people who learn to guard their time early gain a significant advantage. Relationships are also shaped by responsibility. Who you allow close influences how you think and live. Energy is contagious. Surrounding yourself with people who challenge growth strengthens direction. Staying connected to people who normalize stagnation makes change harder. Responsibility includes setting boundaries even when it feels uncomfortable. Belief in potential is important, but belief alone is not enough. Action gives belief credibility. Dreams without structure remain wishes. Responsibility builds bridges between intention and outcome. You become trustworthy to yourself when you follow through on commitments, even small ones. Young people are often told to find themselves, but they are rarely told to build themselves. Identity is formed through action, not waiting. Character is revealed through consistent choices. Responsibility accelerates maturity, not by removing struggle, but by giving struggle meaning. Understanding responsibility early does not remove joy, it deepens it. Purpose brings fulfillment that distraction cannot. Freedom grows when choices align with values. Responsibility is not a burden. It is an invitation to live intentionally. What young people need to hear is this: your life is not waiting to begin. It has already started. Every decision you make is a vote for the person you are becoming. Own your choices now, and you shape a future you don't have to escape later. Young people today are surrounded by noise, options, and pressure, yet one of the greatest truths they must hear is that direction matters more than speed. There is an intense urgency placed on achieving quickly, success early, recognition fast, answers immediately. This pressure creates anxiety, comparison, and burnout before life has even begun to settle. Moving fast without direction does not lead to fulfillment. It leads to exhaustion and regret. Many rush into decisions because they fear falling behind. Social media amplifies this fear by showcasing curated highlights of others' lives, creating the illusion that everyone else is ahead. But comparison distorts reality. People rarely see the full story behind success, the failures, sacrifices, and timing involved. Chasing someone else's timeline often leads to abandoning one's own purpose. Direction is formed through values, not trends. Without clear values, decisions are driven by popularity, approval, or convenience. This makes life reactive instead of intentional. Young people need to understand that clarity is built through reflection, patience, and alignment, not pressure. Choosing wisely often means choosing slowly. Discipline plays a critical role in direction. Motivation is temporary, but discipline creates consistency. Waiting for inspiration before acting leads to inconsistency and frustration. Direction requires habits that support growth even when excitement fades. Daily discipline protects long-term vision. Many young people confuse activity with progress. Being busy feels productive, but busyness without intention can become distraction. Filling time does not equal building a future. Direction asks different questions. Why am I doing this? Where is this leading? Does this align with who I am becoming? These questions slow the pace but strengthen the outcome. Failure is often seen as something to avoid at all costs, but it is essential to growth. Direction is refined through mistakes. Trying, failing, learning, and adjusting is part of development. Fear of failure causes paralysis, while acceptance of failure creates resilience. Young people must hear that failure does not disqualify them, it educates them. There is also pressure to have everything figured out early. This expectation is unrealistic and harmful. Purpose unfolds through experience. Direction becomes clearer through action, not overthinking. Taking thoughtful steps forward, even without complete certainty, builds momentum and insight. Patience is undervalued but powerful. Patience allows skills to develop, character to form, and wisdom to grow. Rushing often bypasses these processes, leading to fragile success. What is built slowly tends to last longer. Direction that honors timing produces stability. Choosing direction over speed also protects mental and emotional health. Constant urgency creates stress and dissatisfaction. Slowing down allows space for self-awareness, rest, and perspective. A grounded mind makes better decisions. Peace often accompanies clarity. Young people must learn to listen to themselves, to wise counsel, and to truth rather than noise. Not every opportunity is meant to be accepted. Saying no is as important as saying yes. Direction requires discernment, not just ambition. Life is not a race with others. It is a journey of becoming. Measuring progress against others leads to insecurity. Measuring progress against personal growth leads to confidence. Direction aligns actions with identity. Speed without direction can lead far from where one was meant to go. Direction, even at a slow pace, leads exactly where one should be. Young people need to hear that it is okay to pause, reflect, and choose intentionally. The future is shaped not by how fast one moves, but by how wisely one chooses the path forward. Young people are standing at a critical moment, surrounded by noise, pressure, and endless opinions about who they should become. This message is a reminder that their value is not defined by comparison, approval, or speed, but by purpose, discipline, and faithfulness in the unseen seasons. When they learn to master their inner life, commit to consistent growth, and take responsibility for their choices, they begin to shape a future that is meaningful and lasting. The path will not always be easy, and clarity will not always come quickly, but strength is built through patience and direction through commitment. If young people choose truth over trends, growth over comfort, and purpose over popularity, they will not only change their own lives, they will influence the world around them in ways they cannot yet imagine. Young people are standing at a defining moment, not just in history, but in purpose. The world is loud, demanding, and often confusing, but clarity is still possible. When identity is rooted in truth, discipline replaces distraction, and responsibility is embraced instead of avoided, direction begins to form. Strength grows from consistency, wisdom comes from patience, and purpose unfolds through daily choices. You do not need to become someone else to matter. You need to become fully committed to who you are meant to be. The future is not waiting to happen to you. It is waiting for you to step into it with courage, integrity, and intention. What you choose today will shape who you become tomorrow, and that responsibility is not a burden. It is your power.